And when you are running on very little sleep, you can get to that moment where you notice yourself snapping over something really stupid. So I remember the first, I don't know if I'd call it an argument, the first bicker I had after having Alfie was, he was maybe only a couple of weeks old, 3 or 4 weeks old, and we wanted to take him out in a really nice material sling. And I was that kind of mother that was like, yeah, I'll just tie it around me and off we go. And it came to trying to sort it out, and we were like, no, you pass this loop here, you loop it under there, do it around there. And we don't necessarily, get at each other like that. But in that moment, it was like, this is the most frustrating situation. All we want to do is leave the house for a walk with our new baby, and yet the two of us can't even figure out how to tie this material on. And, we could have very easily gone further into that and ended up hurling insults at each other. But fortunately, we were able just to laugh it off and be like, right, let's just use the pram. And so when you are in those moments and you feel yourself snapping, what is the quickest or simplest way that a couple can repair, say, after an argument, or just to prevent carrying any of that tension into the next day?
I love that you shared that, Olivia, because I think it just is such a human moment. And I often ask people, if you're feeling angry, if you're having one of those moments where you're triggered or you're overwhelmed or you snap at your partner, what's it really about? What's underneath? And sometimes maybe you're hungry. Maybe it is sleep deprivation. Maybe it's just a really hard task while your baby is crying and you're starting to have the full sweat and you're leaking through your shirt. Sometimes it's just those things.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's something deeper like I'm feeling unseen. I feel resentful and I'm carrying so much. Sometimes it's something deeper. But going back to what I had said earlier, the couples who do well are the ones who learn how to come back together quicker. And the first piece of that even is accepting that our work in a relationship, a healthy relationship, is about the cycle of connection, disconnection, and repair. And we constantly do that. And when we disconnect, when we argue, when we have disagreements, it's always a chance for us to understand what are our needs and how do we then come back closer together. That's a beautiful process in a relationship. In the moment, you can, so for those who golf or have a partner who golf, you can take a mulligan, which is that time when you're playing. My husband's a golfer, so I know this, but you get to redo. You get a redo. And you can say to your partner, oof, that came out not the way I wanted. Can I take a mulligan? Can I have a redo? And you can also say it with laughter and play.
Yeah.
And it's one of the ways so I tend to be the more critical one in my relationship. My husband tends to be the more defensive one. And we both have learned to do that came out totally the wrong way. Can I try again? That's a really great in the moment one. And the other piece too is when things are escalating, being able to pause and just say, okay, wait, hang on, time out. We are totally passing the hot potato back and forth here. Or I had one couple that would say that they're getting in the washing machine and they're in the spin cycle. We're spinning around and around. And just something that stops what you're digging into. You don't have to solve it in that moment, but it is about some kind of quick ownership of what you've just done, what you've just put into the relationship space. Ooh, I was sharp. I'm sorry. Let's just take a pause. Let's take a beat. We'll come back to this later. And that's enough to move forward. Or I remember one couple would be like, same team, we're on the same team. And then they would just move forward. And if they needed to come back to it at a different time, they would. But the other piece too is remembering that not every moment of tension needs a deep dive. Sometimes you are just hungry. Sometimes you are just in this moment of stress. And I always have these key rules for if we are getting into disagreements: no name calling, no physical pushing or throwing things, no denigrating comments of course you're telling me how to do it. Oh, you're just like your father, whatever that sounds like. It's just we're stuck. Okay, let's get out of it and let's just move forward. Not everything has to be a deep process.
I absolutely love that. And I'm certainly going to try the mulligan. Not that I'm personally a golfer, but I have friends who are. No, I really enjoyed that. And I think it's great, as you said, to put that into play when you're getting into those deep, potentially arguments, or you're disagreeing, to kind of just say, hang on, hold a minute. We love each other. Like, what are we doing here? I'm really sad to say that our time is starting to come to a close. So before we do end the podcast today, I know there are some parents listening right now who are really in the thick of it. And I just was hoping you could leave us with 3 top tips. So, like the golden rules for new parents to keep their relationship thriving as opposed to just surviving. And what would those tips be?
Hmm. The first one is your feelings and needs matter. And in any healthy relationship, you have to start there, which is the self work. You are not too sensitive. You are not a burden. You are not too much. And it's interesting because I often ask my clients, where did you first learn that? Where did you first learn that you're too sensitive or you shouldn't have needs? And it has to start with you, because if you want to change what's happening in your relationship, you start by changing yourself first. And that work is really hard and sticky. And I had to learn it myself as well, even as a therapist, a couples therapist for years, and then having kids. And then I can remember this one time I was trying to get the kids all in the car and trying to get my little guy's Strider bike in the trunk, and there was something left in there, and my husband wasn't even around, and I completely blamed him, and I was about to get out my phone and text him and say, how could you leave this thing in the car? And no, it's me. I'm overwhelmed. I'm frustrated. So starting with ourselves. The second thing is your relationship deserves time and space. Don't put it on the back burner for when the kids are older. I see couples in therapy usually around when their kids are 3 and 5 or 5 and 7. And it is the first time that parents come up for air and they say, oh, I don't know if I like you. I don't really like being around you. We need to do something. So don't put your relationship on the back burner is the first thing. And that's this idea of small things every single day. And you have the choice. And every moment you have the choice to turn towards your partner or to turn away from them. And the smallest moments can really result in the biggest outcomes and the biggest gains in your partnership. So you walk by your partner when you get home, and that choice, can I hug them? Can I go to them and be with them for 30 seconds? Make it a yes every time. It's just 30 seconds. And then the other one is don't wait for help. You do not need to wait until you're thinking about divorce papers to get help. In fact, if you are pregnant, reach out to someone, get help, get support right now, learn your patterns, learn the things that make you frustrated or lead you to feel overwhelmed, learn what your triggers are. And it's not a sign of weakness or that you're failing. It's a sign that your relationship really matters to you. So I always say to people, well, I say this on podcasts all the time, I just wish more people came for support earlier, because then you wouldn't need to be doing it for as long, when you can learn to address those patterns that we all carry with us and how to resolve them sooner.
And I think particularly the culture for the English listeners is that I don't think that necessarily as many people seek therapy as they do either in North America. But I don't understand why you wouldn't when you'd go to the gym to keep physically healthy. So why are you not considering your mental health? I don't know. It's just something I always think about. It's like, as you said, why leave it till you're at breaking point when you could be learning those healthy habits and boundaries and everything early on? So I really, really enjoyed those tips.
And we think about it too, Olivia, is I don't know how to change the oil in my car. So I'm going to take my car to the expert who knows how to. And you're not supposed to be the expert in your relationship. There are other people who can do that. And the other piece I like to remind couples specifically is it might not be couples therapy, but then grab a resource. My first book outlines actually 4 couples that were in my therapy room, as well as my own story of how I worked through resentment. So 4 couples in my therapy room who all said, I didn't sign up for this, who were dealing with the mental load, who were dealing with blending a family, who were dealing with in-laws. All of those are people who said, we need support. And I walk you through that journey of how they changed their relationships while also giving you the tools and skills I teach couples in my therapy room. So if it's not therapy, grab another resource to help you.
Absolutely. And so that is all we have time for our questions today. But before we let you go, we have one final tradition on this show, Tracy. We think it's really important for us all to celebrate the small things in our lives. So if we think about the topic today, so the couples you have worked with or guided through challenging times, what is one tiny big joy? So that small positive moment or simple win that you can share with our listeners today.
Find playfulness and laughter. That is one of the best things for yourself, your nervous system, your relationship, and then you're also modeling it to your children.
I absolutely love that answer because it's pretty similar to mine. So my tiny big joy related to kind of relationships, I've said, was finding a partner in life that I knew would make the best dad. So and would ensure
Uh,
we had fun along the way. So especially through the hard times, Justin is always making us laugh, not just me, but Alfie. And I think that makes the difficult times a lot easier. It means we can have those open, honest conversations. We can laugh about things and learn how to navigate things as a team and just try to support one another. And I think until you have that baby, your relationship maybe hasn't been pushed or stretched or strained. And so in having that experience myself, I would say that has become the joy.
that's beautiful. I love that.
Thank you so much again, Tracy, for your time today. And before you leave, can you share how our listeners would find your work or how they could connect with you?
Absolutely. All of my resources are available on my website, drtracyd.com.
Excellent. And we'll be sharing all of the things that you've mentioned today in our show notes as well. So like links to your books and things like that. So thanks again so much for your time. And I hope to speak to you again in the future.
Thank you, Olivia. And thank you to everyone who clicked play today.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. If you enjoyed this episode, the most meaningful thing you can do to help us grow is simple. Share it with one friend who needs to hear this, or post a screenshot on your socials. We'd absolutely love to see it. And tag the Tiny Big Joys so we can share it with our community. To stay connected, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on socials. You'll also find full show notes and all the links we mentioned today at www.thetiniebigjoys.com. And if you'd like even more, our newsletter is the best way to stay in the loop. Remember, it's the tiny joys that make the big journey worth it. I'm Olivia, and we'll see you in the next one.